All right. Yesterday, I went on this rant about how marketers should be more efficient. We should be less concerned with the total output of our work and way more concerned with the outcome of our work. And I got a handful of DMs of people asking me how. How do we run efficient creative testing? How can we stop wasting resources? I got one DM from a founder that said, I feel like my marketing team is doing a lot of work, but we're not making any progress. How do we change that? Someone else said, our current strategy is throwing shit at the wall and seeing what sticks. How do we change that? You need to get to a place where you actually have a hypothesis, a reliable way of testing it, proving it, and then ultimately scaling it. So today, instead of ranting, I decided to take a few minutes to put some notes together on how you can run efficient landing page and add creative tests in a reliable and consistent way. First, I want to go over some general guidelines for testing everything. This applies to ads, landers, offers, email subject lines, basically anything you can think of testing. These guidelines will hold true. Number one, your hypothesis needs to be based on something. I know that's a pretty low bar. To be honest, it can be based on anything, but it has to be based on something. So many times I've seen people throw out testing ideas seemingly randomly, and that is not good. You're going to end up chasing your tail. That's a losing game. Every test should be guided by a theory based on data or some insight you have about your customers, your brand, the industry, the climate, whatever. It should be based on something. If you're about to test something, the kind of default question here is, wait a second, why are we testing this? And if you don't have a clear answer to that question of why we are testing this, don't do it. Stop. Come up with an answer to that, and then build a test around it. Number two, you should only test one variable at a time. One headline change, one format change. Try to isolate the variable as much as possible. Something I see far too often is brands test format and content at the same time, when that should be a dividing line that you do not cross. You should either be testing a new ad or a new landing page format with your controlled best performing messaging on it, or you should be testing new messaging with your controlled best performing format. So that is number two. Don't test format and content at the same time. Isolate the variable. Number three, after you run the test, you need to stop. Take a minute. I know it's exciting, but take a breath. Ask yourself the following questions. What did we learn? Did it support our original hypothesis? What does this say about our customers? And are there any areas of our marketing funnel that we can apply this learning to? That fourth and final one is the most important one, by the way. Right? This whole process of, testing, learning, and scaling is not going to make or break your business on the first test. It's not even going to make or break your business on the 12th one. What's going to make the business and what's going to help this scale is how you digest these learnings and then apply them, and how they seep into every area of your business. That's when the wins compound. That's when you're going to see exponential growth. All right, on landing pages specifically, when you want to test a new landing page format, fill it up with content that matches the current lander. Use the same headline, copy, and images, so that way the only thing you're testing is the format, and you'll get accurate data on which format performs best. The only caveat here that I wanted to call out specifically for landers is if you're testing a format that requires different content. So like if you usually are sending traffic to your product page, and now you want to test an advertorial because that really works well in your industry. Obviously, that's going to require more and different content than what's on the product page. But what I'd tell you is you should make the substance of that content, the theme, the guiding principles, as similar as possible to the core messaging that's communicated on the product page. So if the PDP highlights Maybe you highlight the time it took you or the labor you went through to design the product, and it highlights the benefits of it. Then that's what the first advertorial should be focused on. Should be focused on the labor that went into the design and the benefits of it. Obviously, that content will take new shape, but think about this as substance. We don't want the substance to change. All we want to change is the format. Now, if that advertorial wins, then you can write a whole new advertorial. You can keep now your new winning format, but now test completely new messaging into it. A lot of people try to do both at the same time, and it muddies the waters, because if that page wins or loses, you won't know what caused the gain or loss in performance. So isolate the variables. I'm actually a big fan of testing messaging first, and then test format, but never cross the lines of format and content. Those should be separate tests always. This is a good time to shout out our sponsor, IntelliGems. I'm going to bring some blue bars up on the screen here, and I want to show you guys. This is the first split test I'm running at my new job. I'm not going to tell you what it is or what we're testing. And just for the record, I'm not going to talk a lot about my new job until I get a few months under my belt here. But what I wanted to show you is that the first split test I launched here, we are testing 3 new things, 3 new variations, all of one variable, and we are beating the control on every single new variable. And it's not because I'm really smart. It's not because I'm really good at this one tactic that we're testing. It's because we had a hypothesis. We did some customer research to learn more about that hypothesis. Shout out to Sarah Levenger on that, by the way. And then we created three new variations based on what we learned. We tested them, and in this test, we're testing content, not format. So we tested on the same format that we know works for us, and every single one is beating the control. And again, it's not just because I'm so good at this. It's because we had a simple system based on data and are testing it in a controlled environment. Now, next week, when the results of this test are final, I cannot wait to pose the question to the entire team here. What does this say about our customers? And are there any areas of our marketing funnel that we can apply this learning to? That's where the massive growth is going to come, because my job here, I did not get hired as the CMO here to increase the performance of this one landing page. I got hired here to grow the entire business. So it's not about just getting this one win. It's about learning from this and then compounding this win everywhere we can. All right. I guess that was a sponsored segment there. So go to intelligems.io. I hear code Nate can get you 10% off. Code Nate10 can get you 10% off your subscription. So go do that. All right. Now on to ad creative. Similar kind of vibe here. If you want to try a new format, maybe you're heavy on video and now you're producing statics, or maybe you're usually lo-fi UGC style and now you want higher production quality. When you're testing new formats, new forms, lean on the same messaging that's worked in your normal ads. Take your UGC briefs, give them to a higher quality video creator. Take the best performing video and try to communicate that same exact thing in a static ad. Now, it goes the same in the other way. When it's time to test new messaging in your ads, use the same formats that have always worked for you. If you wrote a new brief with a new angle, give it to the same UGC creator and say, hey, make the same exact video, just use the new words. If you're trying to unlock a new persona, like maybe, hint, hint, it's BFCM, so now you're marketing to gift givers. That's a different audience than you've been marketing to all year. Test gift-giving messages and imagery, show wrapping paper and bows and everything. Test that in the same static ad formats that have worked for you all year long. Your testing and learning strategy will be the deciding factor in whether your business grows or not. So make sure that whatever system you come up with to test is simple. It needs to be simple if you're going to execute it well and consistently. I'm so sick of the voices in our industry making things more complicated than they need to be. Great strategies are simple. Number 2, it needs to be repeatable, which is why it needs to be simple. But you need to do this all the time. You can't get hot on this for a week or a month and then back off of it. This is what you should be doing all the time. You need to isolate variables as much as possible. And lastly, you need to pause after every single test and ask how you can compound the learnings from this. That's where the big wins come from. It's not about a 5% increase on one LP. It's about learning what caused that increase and applying it to every lander, applying it to a lot of ad creative, your email flows, your offers. That's where the money's going to be. So if you feel like your marketing team has been doing a lot of work but hasn't been making any progress and hasn't seen any big performance gains, send them this episode, then get out of their way and let them work on this. Now, for those of you who didn't hear it, I'm going to cut in my rant from yesterday. So you can end this episode on a 3-minute rant about inefficient marketing tactics. Thanks so much for listening to Tactical and Practical. And now I'll kick it over to Nate from yesterday. I think we should all be lazier. That's what I think. I think we should all be lazier. I think you should be doing the least amount of work required to hit your business goals. My goal when I build a marketing department is like, can I build such an efficient, dialed-in department that I can golf 6 days a week and we still hit our numbers? I mean, isn't that the goal? Hear me out. I'm really frustrated with the constant arguments about different tactics on here because I never hear a single consideration for how difficult the work is going to be to execute on. How much manpower is it going to take? How much time, budget, brain space is it going to take to execute it well? Is it a reasonable amount of work that your team can do consistently week in and week out without getting burnt out and without resorting to some bad behavior? The standard should be do the least amount of work at an exceptionally high standard of quality that's required to hit your business goals. Once you get that process down to a science and you know it like the back of your hand, then you can step on the gas. Then you can scale it up. Then you can bring in a new resource to jump in because you have a bulletproof SOP and process that they can follow. Think about this in light of the recent debate about ad creative volume, which, just for the record, I didn't watch a minute of. But from what I understand, one side was arguing that a high volume of creative is necessary to scale ads, and the other side disagreed. The problem is they're having the wrong argument. My job as a CMO is to hit our business goals as efficiently as possible. Make the most money while spending the least money. That means I shouldn't make a single ad creative more than what we need to hit our goals. If I go make an extra 100 ads that don't help the business grow, I just wasted the company's time, money, and manpower. Not to mention, I think this has resulted in a bunch of bad behavior. I'm seeing so many ads these days that don't speak to anyone or don't speak to the right persona persuasively enough. They missed the mark. They're obviously AI. And I'm looking at the comments on your ads, guys. Your customers can tell and your prospects can tell. But what I suspect is marketers have been given a quota to hit. Have to create 40 ads a week, 100 ads a week, 300 ads a week, whatever it is. Well, if you force me to go create X number of ads, all I'm going to focus on is creating X number of ads. I'm not really going to be thinking about making great ads. I'm not really going to be thinking about making ads that speak most clearly and directly and persuasively to our customers' pain points. I'm just going to be thinking about making enough ads so my boss gets off my back.